Hi, everybody. Jeff Marr with STEM Schoolhounds Ranch. Joining me is Senior Kai Kingman, class of 23, set to graduate. Congratulations.
Thanks. Yeah.
How's it feel?
Pretty crazy. It's like, a new stage in my life, of course. And I guess, yeah, it's just kind of surreal knowing that this whole kind of high school journey and everything before it's over and can kind of move to the next chapter.
It's a big transition.
Yeah, for sure.
So we like to do these interviews with our students and our seniors especially because of that transitionary time. It's a time to look back on your experience at STEM and a time to look forward at what comes next. And so let's just give people a little bit of background about how long you've been attending STEM and some of your interests along the way.
All right. So I've been at STEM since fifth grade. I was one of the original fifth graders back when STEM made that expansion. And yeah, I've kind of stuck with it here ever since. I think as far as my interests go, it's been pretty good because STEM is kind of able to offer some of those courses in like computer science and engineering that I think have really let me pursue those interests in some very unique ways. And so it's been cool, and I'm kind of glad I've stuck through this whole thing. There have been people I've known for, I guess, like 7-8 years at this point, which is like pretty cool.
It's rare to have that experience where you go from elementary to middle to high school all on the same campus. I never had that. I was bouncing around.
Right.
So it creates a different dynamic, and I would imagine that you get really close to certain classmates along the way.
Yeah, I think I almost sometimes describe STEM as like a small town because, we have a smaller student population. So it's like, I feel like there'll be people I run into in the hallways that I've known for like, almost a decade now. And it's like, I just feel like, it's very interconnected and you can get to know a lot of people very well. I know there are certain students I've been friends with for a really long time that I really value the company of, and yeah, it's like they're almost it feels like family sometimes because it's like I just know this person for so long, and they've been part of so many different stages of my life that I can really form that bond, which I think has been cool. It's definitely been an interesting experience to have.
Now you have also an interesting future ahead of you, because I don't know a lot of students who are going international,
Right.
And that's your plan. So talk about which school you committed to and where you're heading.
So I committed to Trinity College Dublin in Ireland. They're in the capital city of Ireland, and I'd visited there. I guess it was probably like 5-6 years ago, and I liked it, and so I kind of put it on my college list, and then. After all the admissions decisions came in, I kind of weighed the different options, costs and all that, as well as, programs and majors, and I felt like they were the best choice for me. They have a program called Computer Science, Linguistics, and a Language where you can get a major in both computer science and linguistics, and that's something I'm like massively interested in, both those fields. So that was something I really thought was a right fit for me. And then as far as like the international angle, I really enjoy like kind of experiencing different cultural sort of environments, and everything. I really like history and geography and just like all that stuff. So just kind of being in a new place and kind of learning and almost acclimating to a new environment, I think will be a really cool experience and might be good for setting up for adult life, in that I can sort of find my own way to, I guess, live kind of my life, which...
Will it be hard to be that distance away from friends and family?
There's certainly challenges with it. For example, time's difference. Ireland's like something like 8 hours different in time. So, of course, when I like call my parents, for example, it's going to be harder to set that up, or just really anyone in the U.S. And of course, there's probably less opportunities to like visit friends, but I'll probably come back for like summer breaks and stuff,
Right.
And that'll be cool. But yeah, certainly more distanced from people I know, and that'll be that'll certainly be a challenge. But I'm hoping that I can kind of get socially get well acclimated there, and kind of find pillars of support there, and people I can rely on and stuff like that.
But this is the time to see the world. This is the
sure.
time to go experience the world. And you're right about the geography and the culture and the history. There's so much of it in that part of the world. And like you said, a program that you were attracted to for your interests. And it must be a program unlike a lot of others out there for you to choose that one.
I'd say, yeah. There are some colleges with computer science and linguistics degrees here in the U.S., and I had applied to them. Not all of them I got into, but I thought that just kind of as far as value goes and how good of a fit it is for me, Trinity College Dublin's program really works for me. It's like very heavy depth in both computer science and linguistics, and I kind of had been like, I guess, kind of doing research, and it's like, pretty much just as recognized as, say if you got a plain computer science or a plain linguistics degree. And so I thought that, just because I'm kind of a dual skill set sort of person, I figured that would be really good for me. And, I like with both computer science and linguistics, like doing work in both of those topics never really feels like work to me. So I felt that if in studying both of those at the same time, I'd really enjoy kind of the academic experience with that.
So if I get on LinkedIn 5 or 6 years from now and I look up your name, what company do you think you'll be attached to and working for, and what type of position? What are you hoping for?
So I'm hoping to be a programmer, specifically in natural language processing technology, which is kind of an integration of linguistics with computer science and AI specifically. Of course, commonly cited examples are like, home assistants that can like tell what you're saying and stuff. But it goes beyond that. There's like many expansive uses of it, and I'm hoping to kind of work in that area. I'm currently returning to a summer internship with Lockheed Martin. And so I'm hoping that I can kind of maybe stick with them and, really carve out my career there. Alternatively, there are, of course, options everywhere. And I'm hoping just, to really get to do what I enjoy as far as my job goes, and really kind of set my career up for future success. And I think I'm on the path to that. So I'm generally happy with kind of my trajectory in that regard.
Isn't it amazing how fast AI has taken hold over the last couple of years?
Yeah. I kind of, so I've been fairly aware of, and I'm sure, many CS-oriented students at STEM will say the same, but like, as far as AI goes, I've kind of been keeping an eye on it for quite a few years now. I first kind of dabbled in it probably like back in like early to middle school, probably, kind of doing like coding camps and whatnot. I think I was part of this like summer camp that taught us how to like train an AI algorithm to identify images. But I always kind of thought like this is just like an insane amount of potential here. So I figured, I'd try and like study some of that field. And I think really it's just sort of inevitable that, this sort of thing happens. What's very, I guess, interesting, and some may say scary about AI is that, this is kind of the most primitive it'll ever be. It's only going to get more advanced, which, of course, would require a lot of, I guess, adaptation, definitely, in a lot of fields of work. It's hard to say which, but I think on one side of it, it is definitely something, you want to watch out for, is like how it'll affect your future career. But I also think, you also want to look at, hey, how can I use this to my advantage in the future?
Right.
I'm sure there are plenty of new applications that'll crop up, and, whoever can seize that opportunity, I'm sure will do pretty well for themselves.
Well, see, my background is in communications, marketing, and journalism, and when you're in that field, and for example, you're writing a blog or an article, like maybe you want to list the top 10 gift ideas for Mother's Day that are trending for 2023. And you would spend all day writing that article and researching and looking at pricing. and you use one of these AI apps, one of these platforms, it'll crank it out in seconds. And it will also do it in my way of writing. So it looks like it's me. It looks like I spent all day doing it. And then, the whole thing is right there. And that's just one example of unlimited amount of things that it does. So it's really interesting to see where it goes, and yes, kind of scary at the same time.
What's really crazy about it is how many different jobs it can do.
Yeah.
Of course, to varying levels of success, and that's definitely kind of what's kind of keeping it outside of certain fields, I'm sure. But for example, I'm also interested in voice acting. I've done theater here at STEM since sixth grade, and there are AI algorithms that are essentially recreating voices of famous actors and stuff. I think for Mandalorian, Disney was using a AI generated version of Mark Hamill's voice to voice Luke, and then I think they might do the same thing with James Earl Jones now that he's kind of maybe getting closer to retiring from acting, but.
And it's also creating its own songs. Based off of artists who are currently living. And, it's going to be able to create songs from ones who are not around anymore, too, just by analyzing the voice and the rhythm and the types of music that they put out. Really incredible.
It really is. And of course, with kind of the creative fields, there's more of a debate around hey, what's ethical, what's viable. I probably, I'm not in those spheres enough to really give a very informed opinion on that. But I do think that, there's, I will say there probably will always be kind of a inherent value in what a human can do in those aspects, the ability for someone to create something and, really, I guess, make something special with just their imagination and hard work. I think that's really what gets valued there. So, of course, I think some of the fears there might not come to fruition. But, of course, there are plenty of ways it's changing, and it's always evolving, and it's just pretty crazy that it is where it is, and it's probably just going to keep getting more and more prominent and getting more and more efficient over time. And which is, to some extent why I do want to, work somewhat with that field. I personally hope to be able to apply it to things that'll, benefit people and kind of make life easier. For example, through linguistics, you could probably create stuff related to translation or language databases or all these different applications. But I'm personally very excited about it. And then, of course, I understand why some would be a bit apprehensive. So
yeah, it's always that way with new things. You don't really know where it's going to go. We know where you're going to go in terms of heading to Ireland and doing your studying there. When you look back at STEM, what are some of the things that you're left with? What are your thoughts? I mean, because you've been here for quite some time, so. How has the overall experience been for you in preparing you for the future?
I think it's been good. I've kind of, because of course, my perspective's probably changed on this over the years as I've matured. But for example, with the workload and just the kind of rigor of certain classes and what's offered, I think it's good to have that. Of course, it can be very stressful, and definitely when I was younger, I didn't really see the value in it. But I think with some of these more advanced hard classes, you can really, it really prepares you for kind of as far as work ethic and determination goes, and kind of where to invest your time resources. I think it's a good skill to develop before college. Because I remember talking to my dad, and he had gone to CU Boulder for psychology back in the 90s. And he said some of the high school work at STEM can be pretty similar as far as kind of how challenging it can be to what he did in college, which is I feel is good because it makes me more prepared for college, and I think it also just develops that sort of work ethic that can probably stick with you throughout your entire career, really. And so I think in general, like that STEM's like curriculum and rigor has really been something I've valued. Even if it's like, it doesn't get me into somewhere like Harvard, it does get me kind of to a place where I can really operate well as an adult in, an academic or work environment.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I really think it's been good.
So there were stressful times and tough times and difficult classes and assignments that probably kept you up late. But now that you look back on it, you see the value.
Yeah.
And you'll continue to see the value in the years ahead because of how it prepped you for what's to come.
Yeah, and I think like those types of challenges and stresses, that eventually just becomes that's like life. You have to deal with that pretty much every day. And so I think the more prepared I am for that, the better. Obviously, most kids don't want to be doing a lot of work, but I think it can be helpful if that's kind of if you really want that sort of level of success or just kind of determination that can really make people, I guess, fulfilled career-wise.
Right. So what were some of the classes that really benefited you or stuck with you? What are some of the experiences that you had that you're really glad that you were part of?
There are quite a few, like I'm sure like back in middle school, like I think there were classes specifically with like theater and history that, really got me into those things, and those have been interests I've like stuck with ever since. And really, they've expanded my horizons past just, I'm an introverted computer guy. I've kind of like, I've really, it's helped me break out of my shell in some areas, or just like kind of really expand my interest to plenty of different topics that, you can discuss with like a wide array of people. And then, probably going into high school, there have been some classes. So last year, my physics class, starting off, it like kicked my butt. Like I think it was an interesting experience because, being kind of in all these advanced classes and generally having a decent time with them, I think it was an interesting shift. And sort of, not only did I realize like kind of what I had to do to pass the class, but I think there was a level of maybe ego I had going into it where I was like, I can do this. I don't need to get any help. And then, you go in and you kind of realize, hey, like you should use the resources provided to you if you can, and really like work to, learn things. And I think that was a good experience for me. I'd say my computer science classes, so I took like C networking, C comp tech, those both like helped me a lot as far as like, kind of, they were very hands-on and self-led, which for me with computer science is like the best way I learned. So I think those really were good. And as far as like kind of me being able to thrive in a certain environment and really just kind of learn on my own and sharpen my skills. And those were very cool experiences as well. So yeah, those are the first few that come to mind, but there have been so many classes that I think have really been formative experiences.
Well, congratulations on making it to that finish line here at STEM. And so now your experience at STEM is going to be something that you look back on, but it's also going to serve as the foundation of the skill sets that you're bringing to the world and to the industry that you're looking to get into, and it's going to be really exciting to see where you go from here.
Thanks.
So thank you for talking to us about your experience, and we'll be sure to keep tabs on you in the years ahead.
Sounds good.
Thanks, Kai. And thank you for watching. Be sure to follow STEM on social media, and we'll see you next time.